Welcome to Insight Talks, brought to you by Outlook in association with Johnson Tiles. This is a conversation series with architects and designers. It's not typically about their landmark projects or awards they won. It's about them as a person, as a creator, a master, and a learner. The interviews are taken by filmmaker Aradhana Seth in very informal and free-flowing style. And let me tell you, every conversation has very interesting and inspiring stories. Hello and namaste, I am Dinesh Vyas and I welcome you to the Insight Talks brought to you by Outlook in association with Prism Johnson. In this episode, I will take you to Delhi-based well-known architect Mr. Sanjay Wadhwa. He is the principal and design head at SWBI Architects, a firm founded in 1987 by him along with his partner Beena Idnani. The firm specializes in the domain of projects in workplace design, greenfield IT campuses and interiors. He is committed to create spaces keeping green principles in mind, that is sustainability and reducing carbon footprints. Sanjay's passion for creating well-being centric workplaces has earned him many awards and accolades. In this interview, he told us some very interesting stories about his initial projects, particularly the one government project in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. Young professionals can learn a lot from him, not just about architecture, but also how to communicate with confidence and clarity. So let's join him in the discussion.
So what inspired you to become an architect, Sanjay?
I became an architect by accident. Like many things in life happen by accident, this was one of those things, and I don't regret that accident. I'm quite happy about it. I'd gone to for a pre-medical test to a building called All India Institute of Medical Sciences, right here in New Delhi. And though I'd gone for a medical entrance examination, that building enamored me. The building I loved very much, though in hindsight, it's okay. It's one of the many average buildings, but to a 17-year-old or a 18-year-old mind, that experience was quite overwhelming. And right there and then decided, even though I'm sitting for a entrance examination for medical, but I want to go and construct this kind of buildings in my life. So the result was obvious. I couldn't get into medicine because I was half interested. But fortunately, I did get into my School of Planning and Architecture right there and then, a few months after. And so that's how it all started, actually. Professor Rowry was the head of department, and many other eminent architects whom we, enjoyed talking to them, interacting with them. So frankly, everything that we are today, I and my wife, partner Beena Idnani, we both studied together, and we both set up our firm together. So I owe everything to my alma mater, both professionally and on a lighter note personally. So I became an architect and I met my future wife and partner right there. So joining SPA Delhi was possibly one of the best things that could have happened to me. And while on the subject, I'll also mention that two of my early influences, at least for me, were two eminent architects from India. One was Charles Correa from Mumbai, and the other one was Joseph Wallenstein from Delhi. Both had a completely different style of architecture, different approach to architecture. Both amazing. And those, I worked very closely with Charles Correa on some of the projects here in Delhi. And I was, all students, all young architects have seen Joseph Wallenstein's work in detail. And so we absorbed a lot from both their styles. And inherently, intuitively or instinctively, that sort of reflected in all our works. And I think to a large extent, it does even till today, after 33 years of practice.
Did you set up your own practice right away, or did you all work with somebody, each of you?
Yeah, so, we worked for a very brief time. We graduated in '84, and at that time, Government of India used to be the biggest patron or the client, so to speak. There were there were Indian corporates, private sector, but not so dominant. So we worked for a brief period of time, for a year and a half. And then Beena and I and another friend of ours, H. Gauri, she's in Chennai now. Three of us participated in a very large competition. You know, we actually graduated in what? In August '84, and there was an ad in the paper for a Delhi Development Authority competition, open competition for all young, old, senior, junior architects, anybody with a degree or whatever could participate. And as our fertile minds and enthusiastic bodies and energetic bodies would, so we said, oh, this is a great opportunity. Let's, get a crack at it. Then we used to work maybe from 7 till 2 a.m. Because during the day we didn't have, we were working in offices. We all call our friends to help us make those drawings and model, and we used to call them perspectives back then. Now they call 3D visualization, they call virtual reality, they call many other names. But at that time it used to be hand-drawn perspective drawing. So some of our friends who were good at all that, we assembled all our friends. Only thing we gave them was pizza and some beer and so on. And they contributed a great deal. And so the end result was so good, we won the first prize.
Amazing.
And there would be about 30, 40, 50 architects, I don't know who all had participated, many senior established firms. But there was, there was a kind of creative design or the concept or some fresh thoughts. Half of them would be impractical, perhaps.
Yes.
In hindsight, if we were to design it today, we would not be designing some of those things. It was an idea competition. There was no real building to be built, but DDA took those designs, and the entire I would say Vasant Kunj and Sarata Vihar housing was based on the concepts that we gave, and so we gave them the designs. They gave us our there was a prize money. That's another story, that the prize money took 1 year to be received, and many trips to the office, and so that's how we started. After that, our real practice started. We had, participated in another competition. That gave us a big boost. And so within 6 months of our graduating, we had done, this was what, 70-acre site, huge site. We didn't even know master planning. So we studied the codes, what all is to be, planned. We discussed with our seniors. They were very helpful. And, so there's a lot of camaraderie between SPA alumni. So later on, then after 2 years or year and a half, we competed in another competition called for MP government. It was MP Urja Vikas Nigam, which was like a, it's a non-conventional solar energy organization. So the building they wanted was, like a curtain raiser to the work they do, So it was a competition, and very eminent jury, Kanvinde and a couple of other, Anant Raje, senior architects. So we won the first prize, Beena and I. So that was done only by Beena and me. That materialized into a real life project. And the marriage happened 10 years later. So initial 10 years were totally devoted to the profession. It takes a lot out of you. You can only succeed if you have what it takes, So we went ahead, we started, Beena and I set up our company. We were not married. This was in '87. We got married in '94, So from '84, she was my girlfriend in college, but we actually got married in '94. So those 10 years were primarily devoted to what I would say is my profession, That building was quite interesting in Bhopal. Bhopal is a beautiful city. Very rolling hills, lakes, and so that city inspired us to such an extent that it was a small site, it was not a large site, it was a 2-acre site, office building, non-conventional energy situation, wind energy, solar energy, and all of that. Yeah, so it was, we learned a lot. Our designs were like you're sitting here today. What we call is blurring the threshold between outdoors and indoors, And this is a garden attached to my office, as you can see it. And so wherever we do, we try and create a like a seamless transition between indoor spaces and outdoor spaces. Let the light in, let the birds be heard. If you open the windows, that was in 80s. Air conditioning was not the norm so much. And so more of evaporative cooling, more of sustainable architecture, a lot of shading devices, natural cooling, gardens, some bit of a roof, slightly earth burning, and simple passive technologies, simple passive techniques. And when we finished the project and the client moved in, they didn't require any air conditioning. Absolutely. We had, sort of complete hot air, sort of evacuation system, good ventilation, and a lot of gardens in and out. So that kept the microclimate fairly well. And that was something which stayed with us, both Beena and me. And all our future projects that kind of defined us to a very large extent. So we started this building in 87, way back, 40,000 square feet. I remember the budget was 1 crore and my fee was 4%, 4 lakhs. 1 crore for the 40,000 square feet today is completely unheard of, but that's not the point. The point, and it took 4 years to build from 87. So we kept visiting there. We had done a lot of stuff, exposed concrete, and those guys who were constructing didn't really know much about it, So we brought them to Delhi. We showed them some of the buildings, the contractors and the state PWD. We said, guys, come over, yeah, we'll show you, Otherwise, I'm just explaining. So they came and they did a good job, fairly good job, given the constraint of a government building. But the worst part, I'll tell you, is 91, when it was 90, late 90 or 91 or 90, when the building was to be inaugurated. I was told, I landed one day before, and in the evening I reached there. Next day morning, Chief Minister was to inaugurate and all of that. It looked great, lighting and all that. I said, wow, man. I had a drink, had a good blast, slept off. In the morning when I reached saw the building, I got the biggest shock of my life. And I never told this to my wife and partner for many years after coming back. I said, what the hell really happened here? He said, no, maybe 2 or 3 weeks back, one of the MLAs, Johnny come lately came and he said, ये थोड़ा सा unfinished लग रहा है and इसको finish कर दो, आपने paint नहीं किया इनके ऊपर. Oh God, it was sacrilege, and so right there and then I decided I'm never going to do a building for government again.
What advice would you give to young architects today?
2 things, I think. One is that they are in a situation or the climate, work climate, professional climate is such that it's a sweet spot for them, for designers. Designs today are a given. It's not necessarily a wish. It's not on the wish list. It is something which is whether it's a room to be built or whether it's a mega structure to be built, they will always have a designer. Whether it's an industrial designer, whether it's a building designer, whether it's an interior architect, design is the centerpiece. At my time or before that, design was something, or architecture was something which, architects were hired by the rich people. Not everybody would have. And so today that is there. The second thing which I didn't do, and I would like the young architects to do, is to work in a firm, in a professional firm for a period of at least 5 years before they start thinking of venturing out on their own, Beena and I did not do that, and that is something which we always realized that we were missing out, We didn't really have enough, we didn't sharpen our pencil enough to venture out on our own. So there was a lot of learning on the job that we had to do, which is something avoidable if they learn the ropes early on, both in terms of design as well as in construction.
What would you sort of say to them about new materials, old materials, what the way to build?
So 2 factors are most important. One is sustainability. They have to be maybe part of a circular economy where they get recycled, it doesn't go into the landfill, whatever materials are. And most of the conscientious companies who are manufacturing, as part of the mandates, they have to buy back, recycle, and then sell, And the second thing is that almost all the what you call that, the design decisions about materials is based upon wellness. The, the wellness of the people who are using that space, or people who are inhabiting, whether employees or residents, whichever type of the building it is. So all our decisions of design in terms of materiality, in terms of our building engineering, or whatever solution we do provide, is driven by primarily these two factors. Third, of course, is the context. Obviously, if you're building in Goa or you're building in hills, you're not going to make a building which is totally alien. So context is important. And all this kind of translates into what I like to call and always say is a responsible architecture. I met a client the other day. He wants to make a simple building, but all of them, quite a few of them, I would say, are so influenced by the architecture happening in Dubai. A lot of developers in this part of the world are saying, "Oh, Sanjay, look at this building," and I don't know what to tell them, And I look here and there, and shrug my shoulders. I say, "Yeah, it's good. Do you have 10 times the budget you are giving me, to make kind of twisted and turned buildings, So whether it is required, what purpose it's going to serve, and
is it sustainable?
Is it sustainable?
Sustainable.
It is contextual.
Contextual.
It is.
It's probably contextual for there. Is it contextual for here?
Even there, it was not contextual. Maybe 20 years back, but now it is contextual because every
building has become like that.
Glass, if I may say, or the glass skyscrapers or the twisted buildings of Dubai have become the vernacular for Dubai now. The UAE earlier or whichever, that is now the new vernacular, if I may say. And it's a radical statement, but that's what I feel.
And how do you plan for sustainability?
I think sustainability is inherent with all sensitive designers who feel for the planet Earth and who feel responsible that whatever they are creating has an impact, positive or negative both. So we don't really have to plan for it. I think it comes from within. It is very instinctive. It is how we have been taught, what we have seen by all the good Indian architects, as well as some of the international architects whom we have interacted and worked very closely. We work closely with the client to define what is the vision for the project. But the point is that whatever the vision or the exercise that we do with the client, marry it with what our professional expertise is, what our experience is, what we have seen, learned. So if you listen to your client, bring in what the best industry practices are, or what we feel is required, and then the right program emerges. And I always maintain, if the output is dependent upon the input.
And when you start thinking about the interior materials,
three aspects which we are kind of experts at or good at, or we are comfortable with it, or we are known for it, is the commercial architecture, the hospitality architecture, and workplace design. So these are the three things which come naturally to us. Now, so to answer your question, basically, if it's an interior design project, then we think about materials right in the beginning, of the interior materials, whether it is tiling, whether it's carpeting, whether it is ceiling materials, acoustics, all of that. If it's a building project, then of course we start with the core and shell, what the building, what the morphology of the building, what the massing is, and then comes the materials. I would say materials come quite late in at least our scheme of things. And so interior has also evolved, quite a bit over a period of time. We call it interior architecture now. It's no more so-called interior design, and there is a big difference between the two, because the integration of services, the structure, or the layout and all of that, and given the scale of project that we handle or the kind of clients that we work with, so we start with all the structure, or in the interiors I call it a framework. What is a broad framework? So you put the framework in place, it's a layer by layer approach, and then you come onto the second layer, you come onto the third layer. I think the materials would come somewhere in the third or the fourth layer, So materials are very important, but they come, I think somewhere midway, I would say. We never specify by brand. It is unethical to specify by brand. And so we specify as a genre of the material. We give very generic specifications, which are more performance oriented. Let's say, a tile, whether it is HR and Johnson or whether it is any of their competitors. So we look at all of them, but we don't specify by name. We specify this tile or this carpet or this ceiling material or this walling material has to perform 1, 2, 3, 4, performance standards.
And what are those standards actually, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so
say for
example,
ceramic
it's a
tiles?
building facade, Then we look at, when we specify glass. We can't say you buy from Saint-Gobain or from Asahi or Emirates or any of those glasses, So we say, okay, this is the glass facade I'm having. This glass is going to have solar heat gain coefficient of this much. It will have a U value of this much. The light transmission of this much. All of that is specified, and the whole system, not so much the glass by itself, but the whole assembly is going to give me these acoustics parameters. So from outside, I'll give you one example. This is very pertinent. We were the executive architects for one of the hotels in Delhi, which is called the Hyatt Andaz.
Yes.
It's a very
Near the airport.
near the airport and the Aerocity.
It has a great gin bar.
It has a great gin bar. It's called Juniper Bar. It's got a very good restaurant also called the Hong Kong Club. So we were the executive architect. We worked closely with two firms. The principal architect from Chicago and the interior design firm from London and facade consultant from Hong Kong. And in a hotel, there is typically an assembly of so many consultants because everybody brings in expertise. Now, this facade or the performance which I talked about, this is right next to the international airport, and the rooms were facing the airport or the runway. So when any hotel, this is a Hyatt property, so Hyatt has their own standards, very stringent. So the person is sleeping at night and the jet is taking off. How the hell is this guy is going to sleep? So we had to do, I remember 82 or 83 decibel is when I may be wrong, but that's where it is in the broad ballpark. It is, and then we had to bring it down to about 38, if I remember. That's the usual standard. And so somewhere around, I would say 40 dB plus reduction. So the entire facade was designed, glass facade, to do that. So those are the performance standards. Now, whether A, B, C is able to do it in a competitive bidding, that's what is decided. Similarly, for our interiors, when we do let's say a big workplace design for a company like Bank of America, for example, or any other large corporation, Bank of New York Mellon or Boeing, and these are all our customers, Airbus, and so on and so forth, just to take a few names. There we, whether it's a ceiling, so what kind of a noise reduction coefficient that's going to have, the partitions in the private offices or in the cabins or in the meeting rooms, So the acoustics, the lighting, all of that is defined by the performance parameters. Light, for example, you could buy from any store, right? What distinguishes from A to B? But when we specify the glare, so many factors are there. So that's very important, the technology behind that.
I mean, it's difficult to single out, but which would be among your favorite ones?
See, the building for Adobe campus, which I did, we finished about 4 years back. That was a very, very sort of enriching and rewarding experience. Great client, and they respected what we brought on the table as a designer. They listened to us. They worked very closely with us, and the teams from Noida as well as the team from San Jose, where the headquarters is. We worked closely with both the teams. And our scope of work was fairly comprehensive. We did the base building architecture, we did the interiors, we did structure, landscape. So we had the end-to-end responsibility, and in such a situation, there is no passing the buck, the buck stops with you. So that was one very satisfying experience, highly sustainable. We got LEED Platinum for the entire project. We incidentally did the India's first LEED Platinum commercial interior project, certified by US Green Building Council, USGBC, way back in 2008. That's a building right here. That's the interior that we did, of course, for commercial interior category. for HSBC.
Can you explain exactly what you mean by a lead platinum category?
Right, sure. So, LEED is basically a leadership in energy and environmental design. Americans are very good at templatizing, and I'm saying it in a positive way, not to be taken otherwise. They set up systems and processes which can be followed by a senior most guy in the organization, even by the fresher. So which we are not good at all. You know, I mean, I won't say about every other professional, but so you follow that lead system. Before that, it used to be, as I said, intuitive design. You asked me this question earlier, sustainability. I said, it's from within. If you're a responsible designer, you tend to do orientation and all of that, and right. But if you follow this program, you cannot go wrong. So it has, to answer your question, it has different categories: platinum, gold, silver, and certification. Platinum is the highest. And now, of course, we have our own IGBC, which is India Green Building Council. But earlier, the IGBC was not equipped or not, they had not expanded enough to certify commercial interior projects. There are, very long and exhaustive checklists for different categories, whether it is platinum, whether it is gold. Platinum being the most stringent.
Yeah, so thank you. It's informative. That's why we are not joining, because we are sitting outdoors.
Yeah. That's why I was right in the beginning. If the buildings can be designed where we can smell this mogra, we all of us are enjoying for a while. So you come out here, within your meetings, and of course, Delhi has a fair amount of harsh climate during the summers. And winters used to be great, but now with the pollution, what is happening, the winters are also. But yeah, to the extent we can manage as designers, bring in and out.
How do you manage to marry architecture with technology?
See, I would say architecture is really at the right from the beginning, not now. Right from the beginning, it has been at the crossroads of art and technology. That's the fundamental, in my opinion, because every other architect, I know all architects have different opinions and versions of this. I always feel it's at the crossroads. And today, more so today than ever before, because technology, like any other discipline, any other field, the technology related with architecture has undergone a huge paradigm shift. We have to also adapt to that. So it starts right at the time when we are doing the visualizations or when we are planning. We use a lot of technology at that time, whether it is the designing tools or whether it is the visualization tools or whether it's drafting tools. For example, CAD, very simple one, it's technology, computer-aided design and drafting, which has been there for what, 25 years, 20 years plus. But it's a given today, but it is, it's made sure that our lower backs stay good. Otherwise, we used to always bend over drafting on the T-square and board. That's technology. However, now it is very simple and humble. But, so we use a lot of technology and software, various kinds in our studio for visualization, making sure everything, what we are designing on paper, when we, issue the set of documents and drawings, there are no disconnects, or least amount of disconnects, I would say. So all that we are able to use various tools available to us. On the construction side, the materials have undergone sea change. Look at where the glass was 20 years back, and look at where the glass is today. Liquid crystal glass and so many other innovations in glass have ensured that even if you do a building in Dubai, for example, glass in a very hot and arid climate, it is sustainable. It is not a sort of an oven. It's not something which traps. The glass engineer, it's expensive. It lets the light in, but it keeps the heat out.
Yeah.
So that is technology in glass. Similarly, for flooring materials, for example, if I may talk about tiles, it's a very prolific and I think a field in our domain, in our discipline, which is getting so much of traction and hence innovation behind it. Every every year we see we are spoilt by the materials that are being offered with us because of the technology. Large slabs of tiles. Who had heard of them before? 8 feet by 4 feet.
4 feet by 8,
etc.
yes. Yeah.
That will gladden the heart of many tile manufacturers and the architects. Similarly, in every other, whether it is wood, wood is no more a non-sustainable. Wood is quite sustainable. So the kind of wood engineered in a different kind is being used. It is not a cut a tree and build a house. No, the way wood goes through a process of complete engineering, and then you replant as many. So wood is a highly sustainable, and so that has undergone. So every material is technology driven, and if you were to, which I'm very happy about, because look at what we have done to the mines of the natural stones. On a real technology side and a workplace design, it is a totally different change. It's a, what should I say? It's a sea change which we have seen, particularly with this post-pandemic way of working. When people are coming back partially, fully, it's a hybrid work as we call it. So there are sensors, there is BMS system. They know which people, like there are 10 of us here today, 10 of them there, who had occupied which desk. What was the temperature there? All that is there as part of our solutions, which we provide to our companies as a technology, solutions. Integrated with audiovisual, whether you are having a Zoom call or a Teams call, sitting at home or sitting in office, we call it tech parity. They should not, ideally speaking, there should be a situation where the person in the office is at no more advantage than a person working from home when they are on a virtual call. So that's tech parity, and we can just go on and on about it. And
Sanjay, how do you keep abreast with all the new technology and materials that are available?
So the good old days before the pandemic, I think one of the best things was trade exhibitions. You go, let's say there is, Germany is a country for trade exhibitions, and we used to go there quite often, whether it is for A, B, C product. So all the suppliers would bring out their, but otherwise I think interaction with the industry forums and Google, of course, is online search engines is very important. But we used to have, we need to start again sometime in the future, is that we used to always have a lunch and learn in the office, wherein on a Saturday, whoever wants to come, we would call one of the product manufacturers. They would showcase their products. They would supply pizza and beer, and then everybody will learn.
These insight talks will acquaint you with the architect's professional approach, values that they respect and expect, their philosophy, and above all, how they look at life, other people, and this very planet. Let us join the respected professional at Inside Story. And just to add, Prism Johnson is engaged with the fraternity of designers in multiple ways, which includes publication of reputed journal Insight. You can also receive very rich and professional content by subscribing to the newsletter from insidereview.in. Thank you very much.